now it's actually even easier with voice. So I'm using it on my phone when I'm out. I'm taking a picture of it and going from there. When I'm doing coding effort, I have a voice agent that I just talk to and it puts it in the formatting. It almost gets like jealous of each other. If you tell one that the other one put a better output and give it the output, it almost like tries harder after that. So you can turn these large language models into just another member of your team.
I'm sure you see this. Like all these replies are just garbage AI bot. How does this impact the world of, there could be a picture post on Instagram and 100 comments and 100 replies and they're all fake. Everything on there is fake.
This is Nick Spizak's opinion, not anyone else's on it. This will be a hot take. If any viewers are in a 9-to-5 and they're not thinking about how to utilize AI in their role, then they're putting themselves at a severe disadvantage.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Side Hustle Experiment podcast. Today, we got Nick Spizak in the house. He's on track to do $2.1 million on Amazon, and he has a very automated business. We're going to talk about all about AI, how he's outsourcing his business. I don't know much about it, but maybe he's replacing virtual assistants with AI. So we're going to get into all of that. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, John. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Of course.
So instead of the traditional intro, how about you tell us how you got started with the AI and how you were like, okay, this is going to be important. Like this might be the future of the Amazon business.
Sounds good. So that's actually my root. So I've been a software engineer, technical lead, architect for 15 years. So just this past January, I left my corporate 9-to-5 job that I was at. So I've actually been in the software engineering space way longer than at least at a professional level, way longer than in the Amazon space. Been flipping since back in the day. I have like an OG eBay account when I was like 12 or 13 back in 1999. So I've been doing flipping for a long time, but software engineering was really what I had my professional career in. So it was a natural fit. You'll find that a lot of engineers are lazy. Once they do something more than once, they're going to look for a way to try to make sure they can automate it out of their plan to move on to the next thing. So it made total sense as I could start seeing where the trends were going. And first time ChatGPT rolled out, we were actually for work, I was at a conference for Amazon Web Services, and they're like, yo, check out this ChatGPT thing. And we were looking, I was like, all right, it's obviously was in its infancy at that point, but you're like, wow, this is like for real now. And that's kind of what like piqued the interest on the AI side. It was like, okay, this is the direction things are going. It's totally a blue ocean, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity to kind of stay at the forefront for it.
Do you think that this is kind of the future of this OA type business model of thing? We've had somebody on here that does something you might know even more, because he had no coding background, no nothing. He just kind of did this with just ChatGPT. And since you have a background, you probably are even more advanced. Do you think this is the future of how things are going to go there?
I do. And I think it's just going to be a part of daily life, right? So there's different stages of how AI really started, and the folks that adopt it into their practices are just going to have, frankly, an unfair advantage, right? So you'll have folks who'll say, oh, well, your role as an engineer is becoming highly redundant, right? Now I can have Claude Code write the actual program, 100% accurate. But here's the catch, right? So 90% of that code will become obsolete because now I'm outsourcing it to an AI assistant to be able to do it. But that rate remaining 10x just got 100, probably 1,000% more valuable, because it's the ability to think through the business value, to be able to tie together the systems that are there and be able to give it the right context and the prompt to do the job. And that's not just engineering, that's going to be more generic too. So think of any industry. If you have the domain expertise in it, or you have the ability to say, okay, well, what are the principles behind what I'm looking to do to achieve business value? That's really going to be the direction. And there's a whole niche in that in and of itself that says, hey, I might not necessarily know about widget A or widget B, but if I know how to prompt these tools the right way, I can get a McKinsey level consultant type research report with some of these deep research items that you're using. And now you just took someone else's, what would normally have been 10,000 hours, you got that in a report in, as of recording, 45 minutes. 6 months from now, that might be something that you're getting like near instant. So the folks that are able to pick up on those patterns, not just Amazon, but just generically, and apply them into how can I make myself either more efficient, I can make myself have more value for the customers that I'm working with, or I'm going to go ahead and have a better experience with what's already there. If you can tackle one of those forms of value, that's the key with not just AI, but just in general is how do I get to that point?
So I guess let's break it down a little bit more. So how kind of are you using AI in your life? Like maybe some practical uses for the listener, whether that's Amazon or just in general. I
Yep.
use it almost like 2 or 3 hours every day now. Like I'm always talking to it, asking it. It's just absolutely insane. Like the other day, the thermostat like broke here. I like took a picture. I was like, "How do you fix this?" Oh,
Mm.
just pop this out, put this in, and it was like better than a Google search. So how are you using it in your life?
Yeah, so it went in stages. It wasn't an overnight thing. So first I started using it almost like Google, right? Where you're just instead of a Google search, you're using ChatGPT to do that. That's I think everybody's first step and highly encouraged like that should be your starting point. Instead of opening up Google to find something out you don't know, go into ChatGPT and ask the same question. And that's generally where most people are going to start. Now, as you get into it, you'll start realizing that hey, at the end of the day, these systems are as simple as input, process, output. The better the input is, the better the outcome is that you're going to get. So being able to give it what is known as context engineering, or in more generic terms, hey, give it a role, tell it what you want, and tell it the format that you want it in. So the more clear you are with it, the better the prompt's going to be. If you were think of it like this, if you're talking to someone or in written copy, if they can't understand what you're writing, don't expect an AI to, right? So if you want to make it super crystal clear, even things that are what you would think are assumed knowledge, just put that additional context in it and you'll get a much better result. And that's kind of a long-winded answer to say, how do I use it in my day-to-day? I started with that as the starting point. Then I started looking at like, okay, well, what else can I do with it? And it's really just any pain point that I have, regardless of the topic. I'll throw that in as like the first iteration of using it. And what I've noticed is now I'm getting confined back to being a lazy engineer. Typing takes time. So with now it's actually even easier with voice. So I'm using it on my phone when I'm out. I'm taking a picture of it and going from there. When I'm doing coding effort, I have a voice agent that I just talk to and it puts it in the formatting for me. So that's just another way to get further efficiency is you can talk faster than you can type for most people. Why not use that? And the models are getting so good that they're, for the most part, picking up on the majority of the context that you're doing. So that's kind of how I'm using it today. I use it for whatever the specific pain point is, and it's almost getting to the point where it's just kind of integrated into what do you do for your day to day tasks that you have on the plate.
Yeah. What do you think's the best one? Do you have like a favorite?
It's a use the right tool for the job type of approach, and I'll break that down a little bit. I put a tweet out recently about this. So ChatGPT, as of time of recording, is great for general purpose. Think of it as your Swiss Army knife. I use Claude for tactical items, right? So it's very good at copywriting. It's very good at writing code. It's very good at things that you need more. You need more specialized expertise in it. I use deep research across each of those. DeepSeek is a Chinese-owned company, so it is generally cheaper to use for that. But I would recommend against it for anything that's sensitive information. So if there's anything that you're putting into AI, just recognize, regardless of the provider, is this sensitive or is it not? And if it's something you don't want to have there, make sure you're using either a local model, so you can actually download some of these models locally. They might not be as performant as some of the cloud-based ones, but you're going to get that additional safety or that security around the data that you have. Or use it on a provider that is already air gap for that. Gemini. So Google's Gemini is great. It has what's known as a large context. So you can put a lot of information into it to be able to get results. So I'll use Google's Gemini for the cases where it's a large project or I needed a lot of context information that's there. XAI is going to be good for more real time social media trends, picking up on signals, and Perplexity, same type of boat, right? If you need more real time information, Perplexity is great for that. So I'd say it's a right tool for the job. Use the AIs in parallel. So create a really good prompt, put it in all of them, and see what results it gets. What you'll find is and it sounds counterintuitive, but the AI almost gets like it almost gets like jealous of each other. If you tell one that the other one put a better output and give it the output, it almost like tries harder after that. So there's definitely some experimenting that you can do with each of them. And in Claude specifically, they have key flags. Like if you tell it to think hard, or ultra think, that actually means something to how much time the model is going to spend to look for answers. So these are some of the nuances as you kind of dive into it, that you can really turn these large language models into just another member of your team.
Yeah, that's awesome. But on Claude, do you think that's the best way for sourcing like products? And I have like a personalized question here that maybe nobody cares about, but I think you'll have a decent answer. But I'll start there. Do you think that's the best like sourcing model?
So
Real quick, if you've been thinking about hiring a virtual assistant but don't know where to start, VA Fastlane makes the process dead simple. They just don't throw you a random VA. They actually line up 4 highly qualified candidates based on the skill level you need. Whether it's online arbitrage, wholesale, or whatever business model you're running, they got you covered. Then you interview the ones you like and pick the best fit. No guessing, no generic VAs who don't even know anything about Amazon. And it works whether you're just starting out or running a full-blown operation. They offer both part-time, 20 hours a week, and full-time, 40 hours a week.
Plus, they've already placed over 140 VAs for Amazon sellers, and they offer free unlimited replacements. So if someone isn't the right fit down the line, you're covered. It's run by Carter Maxwell. You've heard of him on the show, and he's built a team so dialed in, he only spends 4 to 5 hours a week on his own Amazon business. So if you're ready to scale with a VA who's trained, proven, and backed by a solid system, book a free call at the link below and talk to Carter. And make sure to ask about the special offer for the Side Hustle Experiment listeners.
Time of recording, I'd say it probably is, only because it's that specialized skill set, right? So and there's some background on that, right? So one of the features that Claude has right now in the desktop version is they have what's known as projects. And inside a project, you can give a knowledge base. So you can put your PDFs and your Excel documents and examples of the type of formats that you want. And you use that in combination with your actual prompt that you're doing. Now you just gave Claude a whole bunch of information and context around the type of answers that you're looking for. So I think as some of the models continue to implement that feature, ChatGPT uses custom GPTs for those, where you can do a similar type knowledge base setup. I think those are super slept on right now. There's a whole marketplace of custom GPTs that are out there that are purpose built for specific types of tasks. So if you can utilize some of those, that's really powerful for private label or brand direct, where you're doing product detail page updates and you want to make sure you have some of those items there. I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to those principles of, you're going to have a high level large language model. So you have your model. You're going to have a context, which is what is the knowledge that you're going to give it. And then what is your prompt? If you have those 3 things, regardless of wherever this tech goes over the next, days, months, years, that's a timeless principle that you can use regardless of wherever we're at in time.
You got John.
You talk a lot about prompts, like the inputs are only as good as the outputs. You give people maybe, I'm guessing a lot of people aren't using it that are listening to this. So what are some good prompts or good ways to kind of go about it? I know for me, I'm kind of lazy. I asked ChatGPT to create the prompt for me.
Yep.
But what are some good examples?
That's actually a great way to do it, right? Even like what you just said there, that's actually like the art of prompt engineering is exactly that. This is what I'm looking to do. Please put it in an optimized prompt for ChatGPT. Like that's a great starting point. Now, some of the fundamentals that are there, I do have a tweak that kind of talks through some of those too. You're going to start out with a role. What is it good at? So it has the context of it. And an example of that might be, if you're in the Amazon space, you're going to say, hey, you're a product sourcer with 10 years of experience on the Amazon platform. You're going to give it a next section, and it's going to be, what's its objective? Okay, I'd like you to act like a virtual assistant that's finding online arbitrage products at, and then insert, the stores of interest. Give it some items around coupon codes and how to manufacture margins. So basically everything that you would manually be doing, provide that in as context to the LLM, large language model. And then you will put a section for output format. So if you're doing something and you want it to be in a report, hey, I'd like to have this in report format that has an executive summary, a table of the top 10 products I should be looking at. And here is the format of I want them to be the source website, the ASIN, the buy cost, the sell price. So basically, however you like to source in that example, make sure you are explicit with the format that you want and then put examples, example 1 through. And you don't need a ton, but if you do have at least some good examples that are there, it then is able to pick up on what you're looking for in terms of a successful output.
And are you doing any direct like coding, like making some script you can run that runs these sites?
Yeah, so there's a couple items that you can do. So Claude Code as a orchestrator of development is at time of recording the best that's out there right now, in my opinion. It's a little bit more technically advanced for someone that's not necessarily a coder, but honestly, it's one of those things that if you have the desire to learn it, you'll pick it up a lot quicker than you would think because you're interacting with the AI in natural language and telling it, hey, this is the desired outcome I'm looking for. And figuring out the details of how it does it, that's what it's meant to do. It's good at how when it's directed at the type of outputs that you want there. So I'd say Claude Code is really good for that. I'll use that to create some of the scripts. We do have a company that we have for some of our different data sets that we're currently working on. And we're utilizing that as a mechanism to be able to get product details for each of the different retailers that we support.
I want to say too, just because we're 15 minutes in here, I think some of this stuff sounds really complicated you're talking about, but I just want to give people context. I know nothing about code. I don't know how to do anything, dude. And I think it was Friday or Thursday, it took me about 20 minutes and I made an entire script to scrape Whatnot because I'm trying to sell on there. Every category, what's the top viewers and top titles, and then put those together, feed it in ChatGPT, and generate me titles that are similar to the top views ones. And I can just run it daily. It puts in a master sheet. And I don't know anything. But every time we get to a point where I think people will get to this point too, where it's like, well, I don't know what's going on here. And they're giving me really hard instructions. I just say, listen, I'm way dumber than you think I am. And then it'll just dumb down the script a little bit, dumb down the way it talks to me, and then it gets it done. And that was in like no time. It's the second time I've done that. So I think anybody that's listening to this seems overwhelmed. It's not overwhelming, right? You just know what you're talking about a lot, but I don't think this is like way out of the realm for just a normal person that barely has any skills. I mean, you could literally just get on there and type your way in to know what to do.
Yeah, and that's the best way to approach it. Just like anything, right? It's trial by fire. But you're like as adults, our best way to learn something new is by doing, right? You can spend all day learning about the theory of how to do it, but the best way to get it is literally just replace Google for one day with ChatGPT, see how the output looks, and then at that point you'll start thinking of additional questions of how to do it. So it's a skill just like anything else. You have to build up that muscle memory to be able to think in this type of style, and it gets better and it gets easier with time.
And you were talking about the software you plan on making. You want to talk about that, and can you give some details on like what's the goal there?
Yeah, so we have two main personas, right? So we have for the influencer market for where they're finding deals. That's one of the main customers, and then there's the reseller market, right? So we have access to 3,500 websites. We have those as direct product feeds, and we're putting them into a centralized database. Now we're gearing it up for AI, so that way it can be another tool in your toolbox. Everybody's going to have different styles of sourcing. Everybody's going to have different styles of how they want to find deals on the internet. And this is one way that you can approach it. And the way that we're looking at it is we're setting it up as what is known as an MCP server or model context protocol, which is fancy technical language to say that, hey, how do you connect all the various systems for AI integration? So similar to your laptop computer, if you have a Mac and you have a USB-C port, that USB-C port is like an MCP server, right? It allows you to connect all the different things together that's out on the internet. And that's ultimately where a lot of these AI or these agentic frameworks that people are talking about are going is just goes back to the original principles, right? I have a large language model, I have context that I'm providing to it, and I have a prompt. So now the context is those tools, those MCPs that say, hey, the expert in topic A. This is the expert you go to for topic B. This is where you go for topic C. And my outcome I'm looking for is to find profitable inventory. So that's ultimately where a lot of these, where this is going to probably go over the next few months, is just picking the tools that allow you to do your job of whatever that is for that day more effectively.
This is the agents thing. I saw ChatGPT just came out with that, which I know other ones have had that, I believe, but where you can run like 6 agents at the same time. Do you think that'll like replace this VA stuff a lot, where maybe people run those, or do you think they'll have a VA manage it? How do VAs play into this thing? Because I feel like when I think about it, that might cut them out like a lot.
Yeah, I think it's like anything, and it could be a VA, it can be a onshore employee, it can be, another function within your company. There's always going to be areas that you're going to have to continue to analyze on. Okay, well, for me personally in my business, I'm not going to get rid of my admin VA. I'm just going to repurpose her into something else that I need to do for the next thing that's not quite there yet. So everyone jumps to, oh, I need to automate this thing. Elon Musk talks about this of the framework of how you look at the items. The first thing is, what shouldn't I be doing? Like, what's the waste that immediately gets removed? Then it's, hey, I should do this manually so I know all the steps that are actually required. And once you go through and do it manually once, you'll start to see, okay, now I understand where the opportunities for automation are. So another long answer to say, I see VAs being repurposed into, just like any employee, right? They get repurposed into whatever those next set of higher level tasks that aren't quite ready for AI, or better yet, teach them on how to do these processes and understand the skill set. And now you just leveled up their productivity by 10x, and you're writing less of the flows, thinking about strategy and what the next step is, some of those, higher level signals, and they're working on the what and the how.
You got John.
Do you think that reselling will just eventually become a money game, as these agents are able just to find sourcing? Like we always talk about, or that was it, like you're your own edge. You got to find your own little niches. But like when you could have an agent, or technically like a robot, just find you all the profitable stuff, you think it just comes down to money then?
I think it's a combination of, it's kind of like what we talked about earlier, right? We were talking about it in the context in engineering, but it applies to reselling as well. Yeah, are 90% of the functionality that you do potentially obsolete or going to be, done by another mechanism? Yes. That 10% though, that's where the secret sauce is. That's going to stay in that arena for a while. So how you're able to create your margins and how you're able to create the opportunity, that's the piece that we'll likely see. So, and also to kind of think through it, like how much data is on the internet, right? That we're not even aware of or not touching, or that comes across. Now you're going to have opportunity to look at that. So hopefully it becomes like everything else, where it just becomes a capital constraint of what you're able to source on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I would think it would make it just extremely, extremely efficient. But but nobody has unlimited capital, especially to resell products, because there's always like platform risks and stuff that comes with it as well.
Yep.
Well, you were talking about the influencer thing, so I wasn't aware of that. So explain a bit about that, the influencer situation.
Yeah, so think about it in terms of the communities of, okay, if there's, I'll call it David the deal finder, right? Just like a random, or it could be Drew the deal finder, right? We have someone that's out there looking for profitable items that are there. And it's not necessarily a retail product, right? Maybe it's just a really good deal. And on some of those, you'll be able to monetize through any other of an affiliate program for that. That's one way of doing it. Or maybe it's a brand partnership where, you have a really good deal on those and you have a larger audience that you can market it to. It just becomes another angle to be able to leverage the information. So I kind of see it as, hey, there's online shopping, or shopping in general, is not going away anytime soon, right? Folks are still going to want products. It's just a different way of being able to either get a product to them that they don't know, or get a product to them at a cheaper price that they're used to getting it for. And I really kind of see it as like, on that part, I actually don't know where all the potential use cases are yet. That's the beauty of it, is once we have the data sets out there, folks are going to find different creative ways to, create an opportunity to make money or have a better experience. And that's ultimately why we're looking to kind of set it up in this structure and follow those existing AI patterns, because you can get the type of answer based on what you're looking to do.
Like a Fat Kid Deals. I'm sure you're aware of
Yeah.
that on Twitter. Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay. So you're not, you see it better fit for you of making this software that gives other people the ability to make a Fat Kid Deals. You're not trying to be the Fat Kid Deals, right?
Correct. Yeah. So a lot of it is we want to be so at the end of the day, in that situation, we're a data provider, right? So we want to be the supplier of that. How you choose to make the products, folks are going to be way more creative than I am. I'm an engineer. I have a certain type of mindset on that. And then others can look at it and go, oh, I don't necessarily know how to do that aspect of the coding or, be able to get it. But I have a really good idea of how I can provide value to someone with this type of digital product, as an example. So that's kind of the lens, is provide the tools and then allow those tools to be repurposed into different digital products.
That's awesome. When is this going to come out, do you think?
So we're starting to use MCP design now. I put one out about 2 weeks ago for Keepa. So Keepa has an API, an application programming interface that you can use, but it didn't have anything for an MCP server. So I looked at their API and converted it into what an MCP looks like. So that's actually out there now. Anyone can download. That's fully free on it, and it's something that you can start to kind of play with. And the same type of thing, any of the software, the tools that are out there that you would be using, encouraging those companies to create an MCP. Those are the types of things that will make kind of take it into the next stage of how do you take the products that you're using today and make them enabled for AI.
Yeah, that's cool. I had no idea that I never even thought of that as an idea. But that is cool how you just like kind of let people market it the way they want to, but you provide all this data. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I can see that going really well. It would just be like, how do you bridge the I need that type of thing? Because I would have never even thought that existed until, you just told me that. But now it's like, I just have ideas flowing everywhere. So that'll probably be the first thing, right? The gap of like, why is this so important?
Mm-hmm.
Because Amazon Influence Program, right? You have those affiliate links on there. You can do on YouTube, Twitter, whatever. That's super neat. What else you got, John?
So how are you kind of using AI in your Amazon business specifically?
Yep. So we kind of talked through some of them, right? So I use it a lot for reviewing terms and conditions of service. I set them up for my team to be able to say, hey, we need to go ahead and submit paperwork. This is the style it needs to be. So the SOPs, I don't write SOPs anymore. I do a Loom video. And based off of those Loom videos, I either let my main admin VA go through it and create the SOP, or what we're starting to do now with it is she writes them based on the video transcripts. So you can take any YouTube channel that you have that you can export the transcript from it, have it create you a summary of those. So that's how I use it for just like the day-to-day work right now. What we'll end up doing is the Seller Central API itself. That's available. We're looking to make that an MCP, or see if there's someone, or if Amazon will just endorse it at some point in time. But I know that they're going to be releasing for cases, for your caseload. So when those endpoints become available, I'd love to have that be one of the things where my admin VA is doing less casework and running software tools to do that. So then I can put her more on some of the higher level stuff like PDPs and being able to find those types of optimizations.
That's awesome. Have you tried out this agent thing? Just to move back to what I'd said before, have you tried that out where you have the multiple running at one time?
That just came out at time of recording on Friday. So there's different tiers of OpenAI. So there's pro users, and then there's plus and team users. So I just moved down to the plus from the pro, because Claude's been a better asset for me as of recently. So I have that one on a max plan, but the other one I have on just like the first paid tier for that. But it does look interesting. They had the capability of the browser in the agents has been around for a little while. Manus was one of the first ones to really look at that. Manus is another AI Chinese company vendor that kind of does more of that holistic agent experience. And then OpenAI had the operator pieces that were in there. So this is like the next tier of what they're doing there. So I do think that there's definitely going to be options in there where hey, are you doing sourcing through talking to the agent, having it find it, having it do deep research? So it'll probably be a combination of a terminal based experience and then a computer use type experience here over the next couple of months.
Yeah, what you said, that's like the worst part, man. You pay for one, and then some other one comes out with good features. You're like, I can't spend like $1,000 a month just for like, especially me. I'm not using it to build software or anything. So it's tough to figure out which one to get. And then every day you see like new ones are coming. Like I think Grok is now the most powerful one in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ways. But then Facebook is like poaching all these people. So, Facebook will probably be there in sometime soon. So it's like, what one do you even go with? But I
Yep.
guess it just stacks up. But
That's just more of a reason to think of these things in terms of principles, because it's going to continue to evolve every day. Like every single day, there's going to be a new fancy capability or feature that's there. But if you know the core three of model, context, and prompt, like you're set up in a pretty good shape here for the next period of time, because those are so foundational to how these systems are set up.
well, talking about some more like just bigger picture stuff, do you see like one of these companies coming out ahead? Like Apple has like the iPhone is by far the biggest phone. I mean, Android's kind of, but do you think that there's going to be one model that pushes ahead of all these other models?
It'll converge, and there'll be a collective of a small handful that will likely be in there. The race for the biggest thing is going to be, and this is just my own personal opinion on there. I don't have any inside information above everyone else, but I do think that there's going to be a race for the hardware, right? So at the end of the day, the electricity and the hardware, these are all powered in massive data centers with these large compute setups that are there. So to be able to have that, that's going to be the race. I do think that Google is positioned really nicely with just where they're set up. They're already set up with that type of presence. So I think they're going to be a contender in that space for a very long time for that. And OpenAI is well seated. So they're with their valuation rounds, that seems to be whoever is able to get the most hardware and infrastructure space is going to be set up the best for success on that.
Why do you think or does Amazon have one? I'm surprised that they haven't like, you don't hear about that much, right?
They have so there's a couple items that they're doing there. They're actually very well positioned as well. So they have all of their Amazon data centers, and they're continuing to bring more that are out there. They're actually setting up their own. They have their own custom silicon for their hardware that they have it. So most people kind of know of NVIDIA. NVIDIA is a large provider for some of the GPUs. Amazon's essentially building their own infrastructure for a lot of that. Their AI model that they have is known as Bedrock. And Bedrock is essentially their platform that they use. So in the enterprise and the business to business space, customers that they have sensitivity to data, right? What we kind of talked about at the beginning, they utilize the Bedrock services to get access to each of the different large language models through that capability. So they make their money from being the provider of infrastructure and the provider of AI technology. They're less opinionated, at least right now, toward which specific model, because they're able to to monetize like they do with the rest of their Amazon Web Services capabilities. They're monetizing on the utility of the services as opposed to choosing a horse on which one's going to win out in the end.
What do you think about this? I saw the other day somebody had built a Instagram thing that had scraped other Instagram reels and then put together its own like VO3, basically slop, and generated views, and then it would auto reply. I think it's called like dead internet theory. I don't know. I'm not super well read on this, but I'm sure that you know a bit about what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And on Twitter, I'm sure you see this. Like all these replies are just garbage AI bots. Like
Yep.
what do you think about like how does this impact the world of there could be a picture post on Instagram and 100 comments and 100 replies and they're all fake. Everything on there is fake. Do you see this is like a bit problematic for the
So
future?
that's an interesting business idea in itself if someone wants to take that one, right? There's already some existing AI capabilities to say like rated on how much of this is AI written versus human written. So I think there's going to be like a pendulum swing at some point in time where folks are either going to get tired of looking at the slop AI content, and they're gonna want more originality, similar to in the content space. Like the raw content seems to be on the upside of that. People want more genuine content that's out there. So I do think there'll probably be some sort of pendulum thing where you're able to rate it. or almost do like the equivalent of how Grok does it right now and at Grok or at Perplexity, but having that capability to respond to say, hey, is this AI generated or not? Like that, I think that would probably be a really cool idea. If someone was able to put that together, they would monetize that probably pretty well. So that would be something that would be interesting there.
Yeah, I think these social media companies are eventually going to have to get a handle on it because, and most people probably don't even know. I was talking with a friend about it. He's on Twitter a lot. He didn't even know what I was talking about. I was like, dude, yeah, like half the stuff you see is fake. It's just like literally AI bots replying to each other, which is, and none of them want to stop talking. That's another thing I saw as a problem. Like whenever you talk ChatGPT, if you say like, let me get the last word, they'll go, okay. And then you go, okay. And then they just keep going. So it's like these bots are just infinite loops of slop, like literally no value to anything. Which I like, that does seem like a bit dystopian, but I'm sure social media companies might get a handle on it as well.
I think it's incentive based, right? You change the algorithm to notice if it's AI generated or not and deprioritize the traffic. Folks are just going to move on to the next thing. It'll probably like self-selection. It'll probably take care of itself on some of those where, hey, it's either going to be looked at as spammy. It's not going to get the same push on reach where there's not as much value. And, folks are always going to look for an edge, right? So if there's an edge and you're getting a lot of engagement on those automated responses, they're going to do it. If they're not able to capitalize on it, then what's the point? And you kind of move back to something that's a little bit more organic. So I'd be curious to see where it goes. Eliza OS is one of the first ones that I saw late last year that was doing that. They created a agent framework that allowed you to log into Twitter without using X, without using the X API. So that was one of the first that kind of started that social agent type design, and the folks have kind of built on it from there.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. What else you got, John?
Yeah, I do think that's really interesting with the social media platforms because we just saw YouTube as of the time recording that saying they're not going to pay monetization to like these AI bots. So I don't know if that's going to kill like the Facebook or the faceless YouTube channels and stuff like that. Do you think like maybe there'll be like plugins or stuff like that where you're like, I don't want to see any AI content?
It's a good idea, right? So I think if there's enough, it's like anything, right? If there's enough of a pain point, then there's a business opportunity in itself, right? You solve one pain point really well, then that's something that can be taken advantage of. Just kind of like ad blockers, right? You can get Chrome extensions. There's a million ad blockers out there as Chrome extensions that you can tailor, how much or how little you want to have things that come through your feed. It's definitely something that is probably going to be coming up. I'll be curious to see because there is some really good AI content out there too. So I think it's going to be derived on some of the back to those core principles. If it's good content, it's going to get reach. If it's slop, then it's not going to get reach. So,
do you ever get tricks? If you like saw stuff, yeah, like me too. I'm like, I thought I know about this, but no, man, I get tricked on.
Anyone, it's almost the point now where you can barely even tell at that point. So you're basically questioning everything that you see because it's so freaking good. It's so good. So.
Those sports ones on TikTok when they do like the press conference, you're like, I can't believe that guy just, and they're like, wait a second, like, no, this is AI, or like that person wouldn't say that, right? Or like they just go off the rails. It's getting really good.
Yeah.
Do you know a lot about the VO3? Is that Google's, correct?
Yep, that's Google's. So VO3 is Google's engine. Midjourney does a lot of images. Google has ImageRx. So there's a few that are out there. That are competitors of each other at time of recording. Yet the VO3 is the best one for video that I've seen so far for that.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest breakthroughs I've seen with all the AI stuff. Of like, whoa, you saw it go from like before it wouldn't even generate fingers and stuff like that, and now they're making full scale like commercial type things. Is it? Have you played with it? Is it expensive?
It is. You can get on the first tier plan. You can get a couple renders per day. They have VO3 Flash, I think, that gives you like a lighter version of it, and then they have more of a full cinematic version that's there. So video space I haven't done as much with yet, just because that's more on the creative side. So I'm not naturally as more creative on that, but it's definitely something, especially in like a marketing or branding perspective. It's so good. There's
If you could just take 2 seconds and subscribe to this YouTube channel, we would greatly appreciate it. We're trying to get to 5K subscribers by the end of the year, and the more subscribers we have, the better guests we can get for you. So you literally just take 2 seconds right now, hit subscribe. It will also let you know when new episodes go live and everything we're up to. Thank you so much.
there's items out there that it's getting incredible. I remember looking at, so they used to have this like meme for like Will Smith eating spaghetti, and that was like the benchmark, like the unofficial benchmark of how good AI was. And they showed it like from when it first came out to where it is now, and you just can kind of see like the evolution of it. So if you ever get a chance to check that out, just look at like just Google or ChatGPT the Will Smith spaghetti AI, and you'll see like you can literally see where it's gone from 2 years ago to now.
You have any big predictions on this stuff? Well, I don't mean to just make you like the professional authority, but I do feel like we don't talk to some people that know a lot about this. I'm always curious, like, where you see stuff going, or if there would be any breakthroughs that maybe people be surprised by. Just general thoughts on, I don't care if you're right or wrong.
These are my unofficial, I'll put them as unofficial opinions.
Yeah.
I don't have anything that's going to say one way or the other. This is just like intuition and direction. So right now we're at the stage of generative AI. The next major tier that a lot of the actual smart people talk about is AGI, right? So artificial general intelligence. And the stage after that is artificial superintelligence. So those are the different tiers that are kind of promoted for a lot of it. I think the next stage, it's really going to turn into where we're almost kind of living in it today, which is the agentic AI pieces, where you have basically these thought-based models that have the ability to reach out to other systems. And that gets us to a point where we're getting close to artificial general intelligence. That's essentially what Manus and OpenAI are competing against each other to do. The next tier of this, in my opinion, is going to be what is known as agent to agent communication. Google put out an official white paper on it. They call it A to A, not Amazon to Amazon. They call it A to A or agent to agent. And it's essentially, it's an open protocol that's standardized, similar to the internet, right? What are the rules of how things are going to interact? And it allows one agent to talk to another. So you might have a Amazon agent that's really good at sourcing, talking to an agent that's really good at operations, and maybe you have a manager agent that sits over top of it that's calling the shots. Like that might be a 3-tier A to A type setup for that. And maybe that team is talking to your Walmart team that does the same type of item. So that's just like one example, but that's going to extend across all of the different verticals that are there. And it's going to be a really fun time over this next like 18 months, that if you can get good at understanding these systems in the B2B space, there's a lot of businesses that, just aren't caught up to like the rest of we are. And we're on the internet perpetually. We're always looking for like the next thing that, you can provide that as a service and, bring a lot of value to say, hey, give me, the next 2 months and I can, offer you this much in savings on a process that's giving you a pain point. You're going to find value in that. And there's going to be some opportunity if this type of stuff is interesting to you and you want to kind of take advantage of it.
I see guys on Twitter getting like 30K deals every few days from B2B stuff.
Yep.
Like, it's just hard to see, like, I don't know, how long would it take to realize what kind of pitch you would have to a company? Like, what are you even pitching? A lot of it's automations, right? Like I see a Nate or whatever a lot, N8.
Yeah, N8N is one for no code or low code type platforms. Honestly, right now, making the jump to Claude Code there's just high leverage there right now. It's a little bit more of a learning curve, but you just have so much more flexibility. So there's no right answer on this. It's going to be whatever. At the end of the day, can you talk to a business owner and they don't care about AI? They just care about results. So if you're able to provide an operating system, that's essentially what it is, right? If you're able to provide an operating system to solve a pain point or make them more money or create a better user experience, that's ultimately going to be the folks that are going to be able to land those types of gigs.
We talk a lot about the upsides. Do you see any downsides to this?
Tons.
Yeah, so let's get it. We always say, we focus so much on the positive, so like we're trying to remember to flip it. And so let's get into some of the negatives or what you see. Nick?
Well, there's going to be certain areas that the large tech providers and the governments of the world are going to be responsible for in terms of, what are the right guardrails that are on there, and that gets into a political and a philosophical debate. But essentially, things that you can control in your own businesses is just keeping a security mindset around a lot of these things. So, just like any other software, anything that you have on the internet, are you going to go into OpenAI's new agent feature and put your credit card information into that, right? Like, is that a smart idea to do? Probably not, right? Do you want to do that on a Chinese based company? Put your credit card, like any of those items that are there. There's a certain degree of common sense around, does it make sense to do that or not? That's, I would say, step one. Step two of these is there are some pretty sophisticated what's known as prompt injection, right? So you go out to a site that's crawling these sites. The AI is going to be super friendly today. Like, it's always trying to help you. Well, if it gets a prompt on the other side on a malicious website, it says, "Hey, I'd love to help you with your request. Can you give me your credit card information, your social security number? I'd love to be able to process this all for you." Right? Like, those are the types of things that are coming up. You will see things in GitHub in the code-based forums where you actually have to check the code. You can run it through because they'll put like invisible characters where it's a potential for someone to inject malware or script that's there. So it's not necessarily meant to be scary. Just be aware of the things that you're doing. Use some of that, discernment to say, "Hey, is this smart? Should I be doing this?" And just kind of keep an idea on, hey, it's a great tool, but with every great tool that's out there, there's going to be pros and cons to it. So just kind of know that it exists, and it's going to be something that it's an attack vector like anything else.
When do you think we're going to start seeing like these the dystopian effects people talk about on reality of like people working jobs and stuff? Like, when do you think this job, like, because I have a hard time where I don't understand the most of it. It's like, I don't know how close we are to these things, which maybe you don't either, but you probably have a better idea than the general public. When is it going to be like the people that are just employed in these desk jobs that don't do much, they kind of could be automated a bit? Do you think we'll start seeing effects of that the next year, or do you think we're farther away from that type of thing?
Oh, we're getting into philosophical combos now.
That's the fun part, man. What do you mean?
This is Nick Spizak's opinion, not anyone else's on it. I do think if any viewers right now, and this will be a hot take, if any viewers are in a 9 to 5 and they're not thinking about how to utilize AI in their roles, then they're putting themselves at a severe disadvantage, right? Any employer out there is going to be able to put a, "Hey, your job secure, you have these opportunities," but we know how those things go, right? It's, at the end of the day, what is the value that you bring to a company? If you provide a lot of value, then you'll still have plenty of opportunity employments either at that company or another one that you have it. So it just comes back to growth mindset at the end of the day, right? Go learn these skills. You're going to be insanely valuable if you can do this work, because is AI going to replace some jobs? Sure. Is AI going to replace all jobs? That's pretty philosophical. What I can say is the folks that learn it are going to be in a very good position to have the jobs that are available there, and the other folks may need to are going to need to learn this to be able to go forward. So this is a very interesting and exciting time to be in here, because there's going to be so many opportunities to say, okay, there's this tool or this service that's out there, and it's run by this large company. Well, I'm going to take one little piece of that and turn it into a product that does that job, one little piece, really, really well. And there's going to be folks that are going to appreciate that. So just find your edge in how you can utilize it to your advantage, and you won't have to worry about that.
You got John.
What do you think about, a lot of people have said that in terms of content creation, I know you're not really focused on that, but what do you think about almost in terms of all the businesses and jobs that almost personal brand is the only thing that will be left? Or do you think there will be AI that will blow personal brand out of the water?
No, I'm a big fan of personal brand. I think that's probably going to be one of the main steering points. As some of the items become more commoditized, it's going to be based on who do you trust and who do you want to work with, right? So your personal brand is your new resume. The writing a resume is becoming more and more outdated. Folks want to see who you are. They want to see who you're interacting with. They want to understand who you are as a person, right? we're all people and we're all based around emotion and psychology at the end of the day. So I do see that's going to be one of the drivers, and it's already happening, right? The folks that are putting out some of these AI SaaS products, these software as a service products, they're either, if they're a technical person, and this is kind of where I'm at with a lot of these, it's good to pair up with folks that already have an existing personal brand there, because now you have the traffic and the visibility for it. On the flip side, right? If you're establishing a personal brand and you're able to work with technical co-founders, that's a bread and butter. So I'd see personal brand being one of the most important key things right now, to where distribution is still an area where you're gonna, if you have eyes and you're able to relate with people, that's ultimately gonna be one of the higher leverage items.
What else? I'm trying to think of more philosophical stuff, to be honest, because I do like to hear that stuff. Although, do you not like talk about that as much?
No, I don't mind talking about it. I just I like to preface it with these are my own personal items, and not necessarily, these are like when I do my own research is what I'm thinking about. Those are the best conversations, but they're not black and white answers, right? They can,
Yeah.
what this is, it's an opinion that can go one way or the other, and that's the kind of the beauty of it, is that's where you can find some of the fun combos. Is where's this going to go? And there's no right or wrong answer. It's more of an intuitive or gut type of opinion on some of it.
I have kind of a personal question. Do you know how it works? Kind of like when you put into AI, like let's just say, what are the best podcasts on business? Like, how could you get in that conversation?
Like to get into the results of it.
Yeah.
So basically where it's going right now, I think for the most part, I'm not an SEO expert on this, so this can be checked. But I think the principles of it still apply. So how you do backlinks with SEO and how you do blog posts and you set each of those items up, that's still incredibly relevant of how Google and the LLMs are ranking it. What they are starting to do is, you'll find on websites there'll be an LLM.txt file, which is the equivalent to like a traditional sitemap, or a robots.txt for items that are just regular websites. So folks are now putting in lm.txt, which are what they're querying, or the robots are indexing against. So if you're still doing the best practices of SEO, you're going to naturally come up in those results. And what I'm learning from this, because this is stuff that I'm trying to figure out myself as well, is those LLM.txt files are what some of the SEO folks are starting to leverage to kind of get those search results out there. When we're in this like quasi neutral, where, hey, there's still a whole generation and a whole group demographic of folks that are still using Google, and then you have folks that are more with on the AI side that are basically changing that into as their own operating system. They're using AI as their primary way of doing their research and how they triage it. So it's definitely going to be interesting as we start to see, hey, how much of this percentage of traffic is going to move to traditional Google search results over to an AI.
Yeah, I think a bit of a problematic point there is that there's only one, or like a few results only come up when Google has, hundreds and hundreds of pages. It's like it kind of decides the truth of, like, if you're looking for a specific thing, how do you know what the truth is? It's just telling you the truth based on, whoever wanted to put it there, really.
Whoever
That,
did
I
it
see
for
that
the
as,
visibility of their SEO at that point, or was willing to pay a higher, CPC for whatever the specific search term was. So
yeah, I heard somebody say one time, like, the big problem is going to be people just not thinking anymore. Like, because if people don't want to learn like this technical stuff, people are just going to go like, I don't need to think. I'm just going to look this up. There's one answer, not even on Google. You don't even have 3 or 4. You just have one answer. There it is. That's the answer for it. It's like, how do you even know that's true? I can see that becoming more of a problem. I don't know how you stop it, because the whole point is these fast, efficient results, and more options are less efficient. So I don't even see how that become problematic, I guess.
It's just going to evolve. It's definitely going to be a concern, right? Because how do people learn? If we're taking that part of it away, I'll be curious to see how it kind of does. Now it is going to create different types of jobs, right? This idea of context engineering, that's not going away anytime soon. So I think it's going to be a lot of that direction, where are you really good at writing or putting or in voice, being able to articulate what you want to do. Like that's going to be a skill that is going to be way more popular. So if you're sitting in a 9 to 5 role and you're in a traditional role that has the potential to become less relevant, there's another angle to that, right? Start looking at some of those jobs that are probably not even created yet. Create your own job in that space and you'll be set up there.
What you got, John?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's a super interesting point. It's like, how are they going to decide like what to put in? Like, let's just say, for instance, if you're like, oh, like, was this person a good president? Like, how are they going to determine back and forth? So I think that would be like super interesting. But going kind of towards what we were just talking about, like, do you think people are going to just become more lazy? Or like there's just a new lazy where like you're using ChatGPT, but like you're not really losing an edge. Like, I feel for me, I was using it the other day. I went for a walk. I was like talking to it, and it would like spit all this information out, and then I was like, oh, I could just listen to what
Mm-hmm.
it just put out, and I was like, this is so much more efficient than having to like read through it. And it was like we were having a conversation. It sounds so weird, but it was so efficient and like so much more helpful.
I think it's going to depend on the individual, honestly, right? Like if you're someone that is not motivated to learn it, you were probably already not motivated to learn something. But if there's someone that is, now you're able to process more information to get to the points that you're looking to get to much quicker now, right? I don't have, let's say I don't have an hour to go through a full YouTube, but I can do a summary of it to determine if I want to go through it later. That's a good way of doing it. Or converting some of the, like, let's say you're in the car and you like to listen to audiobooks. It's so easy now to be able to take a regular book and convert it to an audio file for that. So I think it's just going to be dependent on the person. If you're growth minded, now you're just going to get access to more information to get to where you have the right information at the right time to make an informed decision. If you're not motivated, you're like, that's not really changing on that point, right? So it'll get to a point then where you're either going to probably have enough pain that you become motivated that you have to then do something.
This is kind of random, but are you using this for day-to-day stuff at all? Like not involving business, not involving like, shopping and stuff like that?
Constantly, I'm using it. So I use it, I don't know if this is good, bad, or indifferent, but I talk to it all the time on different topics. I'm taking pictures of it. I'll send it, like, if I'm going through and I don't know what we want to make for the family for dinner at night, I'll just take pictures of different ingredients, and they're like, hey, what can I make in under 20 minutes with what I have here? So like it's just going to be how things operate. This is how you do things, and then the quicker you get into that mindset, the better off you'll be.
Yeah,
It,
that's how I use it a lot. Is
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you just said. It'll just generate meals, and you're like, I don't really like that. That's a pretty cool way to use it, although that's probably pretty base level. But
Mhm.
I find that extremely helpful doing it like that.
I do too. And we actually, our dog actually had like, he got bit by a bug and he had like this thing on his eye. And I literally just took a picture, like, what is this? And it's like, well, we don't know. Like, it could be these 4 things. It's like, give it a day, see what happens. And then the next day, I'm like, does this look better than the day before? Oh, yeah, it looks a lot better. It's less red. It's less. And like, through 4 days, like, I mean, fingers crossed something happens, right? But like, it was really easy for them to be like, you know what, it does look a lot better, like just based on its logic. And they're like, and it's just like funny, it's like, you did a really good job taking care of him, like he should be fine now. And you're like, huh. But it saved me from having to call the vet, bring him to the vet for pretty much the same outcome
Mm-hmm.
that we got here. And I was like, geez, like that's absolutely insane.
It's your first tier of support, really. At that point, it's like, hey, let me just do a quick look at what it is. And you can personalize it now. There's in ChatGPT, there's in your settings, you can go to personalization. You can tell it how you want it to respond. So I hate all the extra fluff personally. So I tell it to just give it to me straight, and don't just give. If I ask, hey, I think it could be this, challenge it, because they generally tend to be agreeable right now, and I'd rather not be. Like, I'd rather be like, no, like, tell me where my gaps are. Like, where is this? And you can put, like, you'll see a lot of AI. You could tell AI generated copy. You'll have like a double dash in it. So for some of those, so I just started putting that in to do some of my own. Is, hey, take the double dashes out for some of those that are there. So definitely take a look at how you can personalize it for how you want the responses to come back.
I found that one of the most annoying things, how agreeable it is. It's like, I wouldn't even ask you this if you were going to agree with me. I need some. So do you find that working in your favor, trying to make it more non-agreeable, or it even go there? Does it go there?
It will. Like there's different like personalized settings you can do for it. So and I think that's what you have to, right? It's getting back to those core concepts, right? That's prompting right there. Give it the in your prompt, tell it the type of style that you like. Some people like to have it more be jokey and more, witty in some of those items. For me personally, I just want it to be pretty black and white. Like just tell me what I need to know, shortest amount of time that it's there. Argue with me if I'm wrong, so I know I'm not if I'm wrong on something. Like that's the style that the responses I generally want to have.
That's awesome.
I've learned to do that a lot too, where you're like, is this a good idea? They're like, oh yeah, like here's why it's a good idea. Like, this is pretty good. And then I'm like, tell me why this is a terrible idea. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, like there's like all of it. And then you kind of have to like logic through that. But yeah, I do find it's very agreeable as well.
Ask it the 5 whys. Like there's like the just anything that you want to do there. You can go through the process of 5 whys to get to an answer where it has to follow those steps. It's really good at that pattern recognition, or tell it to use chain of thought reasoning, where it'll literally go through step by step and tell you what it's thinking about. That results in better outputs as well if you kind of give it a framework to use of how it does its analysis.
We're approaching an hour. Is there any last things you want to say? This has been super valuable, man. I appreciate you coming on here. It's been sweet. But is there any like final words or anything you want to say about all this AI stuff?
I think it's super exciting. It's like anything else, right? It's probably going to seem very overwhelming, especially if you haven't used it before. Just jump in, trial by fire. Start with, we talked about already before, start with it like you were using Google search. Like that's generally everybody's like 0 to 1 on how to use it, and just incorporate it into your day. And as you kind of go, then you'll start seeing more uses that are there. And as long as you're using that as your approach, you're using common sense, not putting your your personal information into things. This is going to be the direction of where things are going. So might as well start adopting the practices now.
Where can everyone find you?
Yep. Yeah. So I'm available on all socials. Nick Spizak _ mostly on X's my platform of choice. So happy to answer any questions. I love talking about this stuff. We'll continue to be putting out more content and go from there.
Cool deal, guys. Go follow Nick, like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Peace.
Peace.